Reports of a second cabinet reshuffle by President Jacob Zuma have emerged on the weekend after ANC Chief Whip officer in Parliament confirmed that Dr Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma will soon be sworn in as a Member of Parliament. So to talk about this and many, many more issues, including the postponement of Dr Makhosi Khoza's ANC KwaZulu-Natal disciplinary process, which was supposed to take place yesterday, we're joined in studio by Professor Sipho Seepe, a political commentator. Good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you.
All right, so let's start. So much to get through. This announcement of Dr Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma becoming an MP, what did you make of it?
Well, I think it's a preparation for her to assume a senior position in government. I mean, there's a seasoned politician. There's a person who had been appointed not only by Thabo Mbeki, but the first president of this country, so merit and quality and competence, and she was appointed the minister. She should have been one of the longest serving ministers, other than Jeff Radebe. So we're not talking about a small player here. We're talking about somebody who has a track record and also of successful management of a portfolio like home affairs, health, as well as foreign affairs. And also her position as a former AU chairperson gives her more of a continental flair and also an understanding of the world. So I don't think it would be wise for her to be kept as a backbencher.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, actually, I'm surprised that her campaign has agreed that she should do that, because I would have thought that if she was gunning for the presidency, she'll focus most of the energy. And when you're not involved with government, at least it allows you the free space. But also, the challenge is that once you are in government, you must understand that you are individually and collectively accountable. So any mistake that is made by the government, you must assume it. Unlike some people who are in government and pretend that they're not in government. The constitution is very clear that all ministers who are in government are individually and collectively accountable. So nobody can stand up there and say, I'm not that part of that government.
So, but perhaps, obviously, I mean, we should read into it that this is just the way of making the transition easier to bring Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma into the presidency, already being in government, and this would be that transition that they're looking for. And, and as many people speak, perhaps an early retirement for President Jacob Zuma after the conference.
I don't know about the transition, because I think the contest is still out there. If she gets a presidency of the ANC, yes, it will ease, because it will be somebody who does not seem to be hostile to the current administration, unlike some people who spend most of their time finding fault with this administration. What she has done as a disciplined member of the ANC is to understand that when the ANC makes a mistake, you, as a member of the ANC, must also assume responsibility. You have had this in the past where you had somebody like Kgalema who was in government, but every time decisions are taken, when he goes out, he pretends that they're not part of his decision. That is not leadership. Leadership is about taking collective responsibility of all the mistakes, and that has always been the posture. Even Mandela, when he led, he always said this is a leadership collective. So we need to understand that, and she understands that. But about the transition, I think the jury is still out. Yet, yes, she may appear to be leading, given the support that she has on the ground. But the politics, as I say, a week in politics is a very long time, and we still have 3 more months to go.
A day in politics is a very long time. Let's talk about this reshuffle, though, a little bit deeper, because obviously, if we are going to bring Dr Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma in, she has to replace somebody. And like you say, being a backbencher with her credentials is just not going to happen. So there are lots of question marks, and I mean, so many names have been thrown around that who could possibly be moved out. Bladen Zimande is one of them. Higher education. He's very outspoken, very vocal against President Jacob Zuma, also being a part of the SACP. The one I did see, which got me a bit worried, was the health ministry as well. That could be questioned, whether or not she may be put into the Ministry of Health. What do you think? I mean, I'm not going to talk speculation.
I think the president is spoiled for choice here. And what is important for the president is to, first of all, make sure that you keep people who are capable in your team. But you also need to keep the team players. It makes no sense to have somebody who's capable, but who use their capabilities to undermine your agenda. So I think it was also de Klerk who was advising another president who pretended not to understand that, to say, when you are a leader, you bring only a president, you bring a team that can work with you, not a team that works against you.
Yeah.
So at the moment, as Peikele says, there are divisions, not only within the ANC, but you also have an absence of a team at the level of cabinet, where certain people assume certain positions. So if you're a leader, make sure that first you keep people who are capable, but secondly, make sure that those are people who are going to play the game, who are going to follow you. Otherwise, if people are unhappy, the ANC is a free organization where people associate themselves freely.
Yeah.
People should leave. I don't think there's honor in people staying to undermine the administration that they are part of.
Yeah. I mean, you speak about Bheki Cele, and I know that he was speaking this weekend, and he was throwing some amazing files onto the floor during the KZN Stewards conference that was taking place. And one of them that he said here was saying about sharing a message which he says outline plans to remove Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa and create enough chaos in order for the elective conference not to go ahead. That was a worrying statement that he threw about.
Yeah, I think, Leon, we should not take too much what people say. There are people who will always create a sense of hysteria. I think this country is a solid country. We may be boisterous. We have a democracy that is functioning, and part of these statements reflect the ease with which people can express themselves. But I don't think the center does not hold to that extent that we could see that level of mayhem. I do think that people will go to the courts immediately if they see that there's somebody who wants to undermine this democracy. And we've seen that we are a very litigious country. At the slightest provocation, we rush to the courts.
Yeah, just, I mean, we haven't gone, I suppose. Would you like to name names? Who do you think may be under threat during this cabinet reshuffle? We spoke Blade and Zimande. What about Rob Davies, Energy, Kubai? Or even though they're new ones in roles, but they've also got question marks. We're talking communications, Mozabanzi Zwane.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that what the president needs to look at. First of all, there will be calls out there. A politician tends to be responsive to some of the noise that is made. But secondly, the leader must also make sure that you keep people who are competent. But as I said, you also keep people who are going to be part of the team. You are not going to succeed on the basis of a party that is disunited. And the names that you have mentioned are some of the considerations that are there for the president to look at.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens there. I want to touch on Dr. Makhosi Khoza. Didn't attend her disciplinary process sitting, basically citing safety reasons. There was a big question mark, even though the ANC say they gave her fair notice about all of this. What does this mean for her position in the party?
Well, she's a very interesting person because when she's given platforms elsewhere, safety is not a concern. She can get invited everywhere in this country, and she'll pitch on time. And what she also does is also use the platform, social media, to continue to castigate the ANC. I think this actually shows the weakness on the ANC. I mean, if you have somebody like that, I can tell you, if it was the EFF, they would have removed her immediately. If it was the DA, they would have removed her immediately. What the ANC does, it actually shows a lack of resoluteness in dealing with what it considers to be wayward people. But I do think that at the same time, it is also important that she's given enough time. You know, there's something that says give a person a long rope to hang themselves. So I do think that this postponement is part of saying we have tried, because remember, in this country, if your processes are questionable, she would take the ANC to the cleaners.
Yeah. Yeah. Just as we close, this race for the leadership of the ANC, is it a two-horse race between Cyril Ramaphosa and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma? I mean, what about the others that have put their names, or their names have been put forward? Zweli Mkhize being the, I suppose, one that we're looking at now as well. Matthews Poza, Baleka Mbete, Lindiwe Sisulu. Are they featuring, or is this a two-horse race?
Well, at the moment, it appears to be a two-persons race, and but it's good that you have other people. Some people consider that when you have a broad grouping like that, some are simply there as spoilers, but ultimately I think there'll be a convergence where the the groupings are going to be talking to each other, where people start saying, are we really being realistic in pursuing this line of thinking? And I do think that there are serious discussions within the ANC, but also the ANC must also look beyond simple contestation. They must look also around the issue of unity. And some of the leaders in the provinces are very concerned, because it is very possible that you might have another split. Okay. But for some of us, we just watch this. It's a history. But also, I don't think the ANC, as it stands, is sustainable. Some people hold far different positions ideologically, that I think it must also agree that there should be a split, so that the ANC can become a focused organization rather than a party that spends most of its energy trying to manage the contradictions.
All right, we leave it there. Professor, thank you for talking to us here on the program. Professor Sipho Seepe is a political commentator. Let's take a break. Zimbabwe and South African relations under the spotlight after this break.